Hi, welcome to today's expert session. The guest today is Dr. Vivek Mundada. He's a consultant pediatric neurologist who was trained in India and then trained in Cambridge and London and worked in UK for many years before moving to Dubai. Currently, he's consultant neurologist working at Medcare Women and Children's Hospital, and he covers Aster Hospital as well. Welcome, Dr. Vivek. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Sridhar, for calling me.
So I would like to discuss one very important topic, which is a big concern to many parents, febrile seizures. So I would request you to give an overview of what febrile seizures are, and as parents, what they should know and when they should be worried.
Sure. So as the name suggests, febrile seizure is related to febrile. Febrile is fever. So basically the seizures which come because of the fever or related to fever are febrile seizure. Now, it's not that uncommon. So we see a lot of children in our day-to-day practice being pediatric neurologists, of course, with this condition. And it's very common between the age group of, let's say, 5 to 6 months onward to up to 5 to 6 years. So that's the age group which is commonly affected with febrile seizure. So what happens is when a child usually has a viral infection and because of that has a temperature, and they have a tendency to have a seizure. So seizure very commonly presented as the full body is stiff, they're jerking, they're unresponsive, the eyes will go up. And it's like any other epileptic seizure that the parents might have seen. So it looks like the same, but it is not related to any epilepsy. So it's purely the reaction because of that fever. And it's very benign condition. So often there's just a reassurance, although sometimes the risk is involved because, as I said, that age bracket is where you can have this. So until the age of 5 to 6 year children can have this, but after that the outlook is quite good. So this is generally what the febrile seizure is. Of course, we'll talk about the different types and what to do and everything as we move on. So this is the most common type. So there are a few things associated with febrile seizure. One, it's associated with fever. So any seizure which is not linked to fever, I will be worried, of course. We commonly, almost 70% of the time, we call it as a simple febrile seizure, which means the full body is involved. So as you can imagine, the starting of the seizure is with both hands and legs, the child is unresponsive. So that kind of seizure. If, let's say, only one part of the body is involved, or this is not fitting into the picture of simple, these are the children, then I would see and investigate, just thinking, could it be something else and not febrile seizure? Also, it's important that most of the seizures are very short-lived, maximum 5 to 10 minutes and not more than that. And that makes them called as a simple febrile seizure. And usually during one febrile illness, the child won't have multiple episodes. So that would again worry me if there are multiple episodes or if there's a prolonged seizure, one episode. And these are called as complex febrile seizure. So most commonly we see simple febrile seizure, which is almost in 70% of children.
And in terms of outcome, I mean, if a child has recurrent episodes, you said within one febrile episode, it doesn't recur, but within, or it shouldn't recur unless it's atypical, but in a repeated, like 30 to 40% may have repeated episodes, isn't it? So does that affect the prognosis?
See, there are a couple of things. The most commonly asked question is, will it happen again? So the complex phenomena, which I was explaining, like the focal seizure or the prolonged seizure, that itself doesn't stand out to be a risk factor for repeat. In fact, if you ask me what are the chances that it might happen again, as you correctly said, it's like 30 to 40%. But the most common risk factors are if the age of onset, the first febrile seizure is in a younger age, like say less than 1 year or less than even 1.5 years. The second thing is the family history of febrile seizure. So often we link, we see that there's something genetic predisposition as well. So if there's a family member also affected, that's another risk factor to have the recurrence of the febrile seizure. And there is something to link with the level of the temperature. So for example, if the seizure starts quite soon after the onset of the fever, at the low degree of fever, that is another risk for having the febrile seizure. If you ask me about the complex febrile seizure, because we discussed about what is simple and what is complex. So simple is like, the short seizure and only one episode. So complexity, if it happens multiple times in a single, so that is a complex feature. So that occasionally it's linked to developing epilepsy in later life. I was going to talk it later, but there are multiple factors to it. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, but one of the factors to have a risk for epilepsy, although the risk is hardly 1 to 3% in such children, because of course, if you have more risk factors, more is the risk. But in general, the overall risk is 1 to 3%, what we call it as. And if those children who have abnormal examination at the start of first seizure, or if they have family history of a febrile seizure, not the febrile seizure, or if the children have complex febrile seizure at the presentation, these are the children I usually carefully monitor, because again, given the risk of epilepsy in future.
And just lastly, I mean, what advice would you give apart from knowing first aid and how to call the emergency services? I mean, would you suggest any prophylactic medications, or the role isn't clear cut?
So it's a good question actually, because many parents ask, okay, if we give continuous paracetamol, what will happen if we just try to subside the temperature? There is no link, or there is no studies to prove that if you even try to cut down the temperature, that the child will have no seizure, because the predisposition is completely linked to the body's core temperature. Often the parents try to, cold sponging and tepid sponging or fan and everything, but this actually cools down your periphery or the skin temperature. But the febrile seizure is linked to the core temperature, it's the body's inner temperature. It's very important that we make sure that this is febrile seizure, because as you can imagine, if the child has seizure and the fever, and if the child is unwell, the first question any pediatrician or the neurologist will ask, is it something linked to the infection of the brain, which is very, very important to rule out and make sure that the seizure is not linked to any infection like meningitis. So the reason to visit a doctor or pediatrician is to make sure why the fever is there. Of course, even if the seizure has stopped, it's important to make sure, is it, because fever is just a manifestation of the, like there's something wrong in the body. Could it be flu? Could it be water infection? Could it be pneumonia? There could be multiple reasons for which you need to see the doctor appropriately. And as I said, the most important thing, especially in the younger age, when the signs are not clear and it needs some expert vision to make sure that there is nothing like a brain infection, and which is sinister, and we need to treat appropriately and adequately. So that's very important. That's the reason to show it to the expert. In terms of the prevention, as I said, there's a risk in some children. We discussed about the recurrence and those children who are at the risk of having future febrile seizure. There are different views. I mean, if you see some studies from India and Indian subcontinent mainly, there is a talk of medicines such as diazepam and clonazepam or clobazam, which you can give during the febrile illness, only during that time, to prevent the risk of having the seizure. Now, we're talking in addition to the paracetamol and brufen for the temperature. But these are the medicines sometime we can use to lower the risk of having these seizures. Often, Dr. Sridhar, what I have noticed that the febrile seizure happens with a rapidly rising temperature. So before the parents can realize that the child is febrile and we need to give the medicine, he might have had the seizure as well. So it's not 100% kind of prophylactic that okay, we have some tool to prevent the febrile seizure and the child is safe, but at least some parent feels safe. Okay, there is some option to prevent this seizure. That's one approach to prevent. And on the other hand, those children who have had prolonged seizure, in those group of children, the pediatric neurologist or pediatrician often prescribes something called emergency medicine. So just in case any seizure happens in a prolonged 3-5 minutes of time, usually with the cutoff is we say 4 to 5 minutes, we can use that medicine at home. So the treatment actually starts at home even before the child is brought to emergency. And the aim is to stop that seizure, because we don't want any prolonged seizure. As I said, most commonly we would like to see the seizure stopping. So yeah, these are the measures usually we use, one to prevent and one to treat the febrile seizure, in addition to, of course, the calpol.
It was very clear. And just one final question. I mean, I know the individual practice would vary from colleague to colleague. And is there any role for imaging or EEG for a simple febrile seizure, or you'd only consider it for complex fits?
Simple febrile seizure, often no is the answer. So again, imaging depends on, as I said, the complexity. If let's say one body part is only involved, and of course it depends on the examination finding. If I feel that there's some abnormal neurological signs, or if there's any other thing which I'm thinking, not febrile seizure, but could it be infection? No. So that's a different story. We won't call it as febrile seizure. But if you're just talking about febrile seizure, the complex febrile seizure is the group I would investigate. Of course, younger children, as you might know, as being neurologists, so younger children, we have often keep our threshold very low to do lumbar puncture and the bloods to make sure that we're not missing any sepsis or any infection like that. That's one part. The imaging, as I said, for focal, what we call it as, certain body part is only involved in the seizure. These are the children we go for imaging mainly, and plus minus lumbar puncture to make sure that there is no any infection involved. Having said that, some children with certain types of genetic epilepsies can present as prolonged febrile seizure. There's a different group. Again, this won't come under febrile seizure, but what I'm saying is, these are the children then in future I will be keeping an eye for if they need any genetic test or not. But it purely depends on the presentation, the examination finding. So yeah, this is related, it's like a jigsaw puzzle to put together.
Thank you, Dr. Vivek, for that excellent overview on febrile seizure. I am sure it will help a lot of parents to know better, and probably a lot of pediatricians would gain from this as well. So if you have any suggestions or queries, please post it in the comment section, and Dr. Vivek, I will forward it to Dr. Vivek for him to respond as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Vivek.
Thank you, Dr. Sridhar. Thank you.